All right, guys, we're going live again to talk about car seats today. I am going to add, let's see. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there she is. Hi, Jess.
Hi, let me turn this around. Sorry.
It's okay.
There we go.
Awesome. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. Perfect. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you today. Sorry, I'm just trying
Me
to turn,
too.
hold on a minute. Sorry, technical difficulty. I gotta turn my volume up so I can hear. This is always like a little complicated. All right. So today we are going to be chatting about car seats and a topic that I know a lot of parents are asking us, and that is when to change car seats. And so I'm really excited to talk with Jess today. And before we get started, I'm going to introduce myself and Goodbuy Gear and tell you a little bit about Tot Squad. So my name is Kristen. I am Goodbuy Gear's gear expert and mother of two. You can find me and lots of different products on Goodbuy Gear's website. We are an online marketplace where you can buy new and gently used items. We ship nationwide. And speaking of car seats, we sell open box car seats at Goodbuy Gear. These car seats have never been opened before. They have never been used. They are just called open box and they are perfectly safe to use. It's a great opportunity for parents who, as many of us parents know, you end up needing so many more car seats than you ever expected. And especially through all the stages of your kid's life. And so Goodbuy Gear offers parents the opportunity to buy a car seat at a really deep discount. And it is safe. We inspect every car seat for safety to make sure that they are perfect and have never been used before. So the other thing to note is that Jess is a Tot Squad provider, and Tot Squad is a marketplace where you can find vetted and trustworthy practitioners for every topic that you need when it comes to parenting, including car seat experts like Jess. And so, Jess, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Thanks, Kristen. I am a child passenger safety instructor. I'm also an instructor for Safe Travel for All Children. That's our curriculum for kids who have special health care needs. And I've been doing this for about a decade, a little bit longer, and I love keeping kids safe. So I'm really excited to talk about this. I know parents have lots of questions about when to change and what the safest recommendations are.
Yes, that's awesome. And just to reiterate, today we are talking about car seats, car seat safety, but the real topic is when to change car seats. So I have a few questions that Jess is going to answer. And then if anybody wants to write in questions, I'm happy to, we can talk about those at the end. So to start, I think the number one thing that most parents ask is, what is the difference between a convertible car seat and an infant car seat?
I get this question all the time too, Kristen. Infant car seats, those are the ones that most of us think of for a newborn baby. So they have a handle on them. They're easy to carry. They kind of double as like a baby carrier and a place to sit our baby when we're, waiting in the doctor's office or popping into a restaurant. So an infant car seat is a lot of people's first choice for baby's first car seat, but it doesn't have to be the only choice for baby's first car seat. You could also get a convertible seat. That kind of seat is a lot of people's second car seat, but it can also be your baby's first as long as your baby is within the height, weight, and developmental range for the age and weight. So sometimes convertible seats will say your baby has to be able to hold their head up well before they can use this seat. Most of them don't say that. So especially for a budget conscious family who wants to skip baby's first car seat, the infant seat, and go straight to the convertible, most of the time they can do that and bring baby home from the hospital in that convertible seat. It starts out in rear facing mode
Mhm.
and later it turns to forward facing mode. For the infant car seat, though, it can only be rear facing. So then once baby outgrows that, or once you're ready to move to the next car seat, the convertible would be your next car seat after that.
Okay, that's great. Something I always remind new parents of is one, convertible car seats cannot be clicked into a stroller. So that's just one thing I always like
Yeah.
to mention, because I know when you're a new parent, you have no idea. I mean, it's so
No.
confusing. It's just beyond, you're like, wait, what? Like there's all these options, and it's so convenient that you can buy a convertible car seat from the beginning to save money, and that usually from my understanding is that most convertible car seats also have an insert for infants, correct? That is used so that it fits them properly from the beginning. Is that right?
Most of them do. Some of them have something that's absolutely required. If your baby is under a certain number of pounds, or they can't sit up well on their own, they have to use this insert. Some of them just have an insert for slightly better positioning. You can use it as long or as short as you want to. So it's great to check out your manual, make sure you're following that manufacturer's specific instructions. But yes, there are a lot of really great infant inserts that do come with the seats.
Yeah. And another thing I mentioned, I was actually talking to a friend recently who has a new little baby, and we were chatting about car seats. And another thing to note, that for convertible car seats, you can't click it into a stroller. And another, you have to remember that when you're, like you said, going to the doctor or running errands or doing whatever that is, if you have a convertible car seat, you have to take the baby out of the car seat
Yeah.
every time you get out of the car. So I always just parents of that, because I know it sounds like a great idea to get a convertible car seat, and it can work. I think it depends on your lifestyle. But I always remind parents, like, sometimes it's really nice to be able to pop the infant car seat out of your car to carry it in, especially in the winter months, or if your child falls asleep and you don't want to wake them up right away when you're popping into a grandparent's house, or maybe the grocery store, things like that. So that's always something I like.
Yes. It's nice to just have a place to sit baby sometimes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I mean, it feels ridiculous to use a car seat for 1 year, but I think it can also be really helpful.
I think so too. When they're that small, it can be so helpful to just make it more portable, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ones that click into strollers are so convenient too for those first few months when they're sleeping a lot and cozy. So awesome. So can you tell me, when should parents consider changing car seats? So say you decided that you're going to get the infant car seat and you're going to use that, and then when do you change car seats?
So there's when you should change car seats, and then there's when could you change car seats. So you could change whenever you're ready. So if you went for the infant car seat, you're like, this is working great for us, and then you're like, well, maybe they're getting a little snug in there, but they haven't technically outgrown the car seat yet, or I'm just kind of sick of carrying this thing everywhere. I want to switch to the convertible. That's fine. You can switch whenever you're ready. I used an infant seat for a few months with my boys because they were both winter babies, and they were in a convertible probably by 3 or 4 months. Okay. And that worked great for us. We just baby carried. So whatever works for people. But when do you really need to switch? For most kids in most infant car seats, that's somewhere between 9 and 18 months. And I know that's a huge range. Yeah. And that can even, for some babies, it might have to be before that. For some babies, it could be well into their second year. So, or once they're actually 2 years old. So, all we want to do is make sure baby is never bigger than the car seat says they can be. So they can't exceed the height limit or the weight limit. Once they reach one of those limits, that car seat is no longer able to be used for that kiddo. The other thing to watch out for, no matter what the maximum height and weight says, when baby's head, the very top of baby's head is within 1 inch to the shell of their car seat, they will have to switch. So you have to be careful, because babies with a longer torso versus longer legs, they could still be well within the maximum height for that car seat. But if their head is too close to the top, they will need to switch now to their convertible seat in rear facing mode.
Right. Okay, that's a really great point to make. I know this is like a question I get asked all the time from friends and just through Goodbuy Gear. And that's something that happened to me. My son is really, really tall, but he doesn't weigh a lot. He's a really skinny guy. So he outgrew his car seat lengthwise, and we had to change to a convertible car seat at 9 months. Yep. But my daughter, on the other hand, she stayed in her infant car seat for much longer. And I ended up just changing her for pure convenience because she was getting so heavy to carry. Yeah. So, and she wanted to be like her brother, you know, so
Right?
I think it kind of depends. But yeah, it is. You really have to watch those. And that's something I realize, I think, with a lot of baby gear, you know, you can put things together or, you know, you're not really reading the booklet. But when it comes to car seats, it is so important that parents like read the pamphlet that tells
Yes.
you the seat limit and or the weight limit and the height limit. And I know it's something you got to keep in your head. I think a lot of parents tend to, you can kind of tell when your child is outgrowing their car
Yeah.
seat, but that's something I think people forget. Like you throw it away or you're just like not really thinking about it
Right.
and trying to dig it up. So I always tell people like that's the one thing, like keep that around, make sure you think about that, read it from the beginning so you know when it's time to change.
Absolutely. And for people, we live, what
Yeah,
an age to be alive because you can Google anything and you can find
yeah,
your manufacturer's manual online. So
yeah.
if you've lost it, you can always look that up or come to one of us at Tot Squad. We're happy to help you find that information as well.
So I hear a lot that I know, and I know a lot of parents, is it safer to keep kids rear facing longer, or what is the safety value of that? I would just love to hear from your perspective on like, should parents consider keeping their kids rear facing longer? I know in an infant car seat, you have to be rear facing. When you change to a convertible seat, a lot of the times parents and I think kids want to turn around and face forward, but what are the limits on that, and what is your recommendation?
I love this question. This is probably my favorite car seat question ever. And I know people have a lot of feelings about this. So rear facing is absolutely safer. It is the safest our kids will ever be in their entire life in the car. So every time we switch from one mode to another, we lose a little safety. Once we go from rear facing to forward, we lose a little safety. Once we go from forward facing with a harness to a booster, we lose a little safety. So rear facing is as safe as we will ever be. And it's so easy when you think about if you and I have a crash, a frontal crash, which is what most of our crashes are, we hit something in front of us and our head whips forward pretty violently. We get some whiplash, it hurts. We're usually okay. For kiddos, when they are babies, we know babies have proportionally just a bigger head to their body. So they have these big, heavy heads on these little scrawny necks that aren't fully developed. Everything hasn't ossified, it hasn't all fused together. And so their necks are not strong enough to take that kind of a force during a crash. So we can stretch or snap our spinal cord. So the way we prevent that is we rear face as long as humanly possible. And when we do that, now instead of whipping forward, babies rock backwards in their car seat and their head and neck, they don't get whipped forward violently in a crash. So that's why rear facing is safer. But I have a lot of people say, I can't rear face my kids anymore. Their feet are touching the back of the vehicle seat. They don't like it. They want to see forward.
Mm.
I think a lot of times we put what we think as adults onto our kids and we think, oh, they're crying because they want to see facing forward. Well, they don't know what facing forward is like because they've never seen it before in that vehicle. So check your local laws. Lots of states and provinces have moved to a minimum of 2 years old before kids can forward face.
Right.
We say for safety, the American Academy of Pediatrics removed, this was probably 7 or 8 years ago, they removed any type of age from their official statement on rear facing
Mm-hmm.
because it really is dependent on each child and it should be to the absolute maximum of their rear facing convertible car seat. So they should rear face until they have maxed out either the height or the weight. Their feet touching the vehicle seat, I know it bothers us. It really doesn't matter safety wise. There's no higher incidence of any kind of lower extremity injuries. And what we're really worried about, even if that were the case, and it's not, but even if there were foot or leg injuries, we're really worried about that neck and spinal cord. So feet and legs are completely safe like that. But we really want people to rear face as long as possible. For most kiddos, and there's a wide range, most kids could safely and easily rear face in most convertible car seats until they're 3.5, 4 years old without a thought. Like it's super easy. And I know there are lots of things to consider. It's different for every family, but we really do want people, if they're thinking of switching, prematurely, please reach out to us because we can try to help you problem solve. We've seen it all. We can try to figure out some of those challenges.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful to know and really great because I think there are like lots of confusing pieces of information out there about when you should change, when you can, and things like that. So it's really helpful to hear how serious it is and how much more it helps if you are in an accident and for safety purposes to continue doing rear facing. So
Yeah, and it's just a season. We know it's frustrating as parents. We know we want to see our kids, but it's just a season, and it just keeps them so safe. So as long as we can.
that's great. So my next question is, so we know about the infant car seat, we know about the convertible car seat. What's next? And can you kind of just run us through all the stages and options for car seats?
For sure. So first we'll just do like how your kid should look in the car, and then we'll talk about the different seats.
Okay.
So first we rear face as long as we can. After that, when we've maxed out that rear facing height or weight limit, now we have to turn forward facing. We forward face also until we max out that harness weight. And this is really different on different seats. Some seats only have a forward facing harness limit of 40 pounds. Some go up to 65 pounds. So there's a wide range. One used to go to 80. I don't know if it does anymore. So you can imagine that's a huge range of kids. But if you can keep your kids rear facing as long as possible and then forward facing as long as possible, at that point, we're usually somewhere between 4 and 7 years old for most kiddos. And once they have outgrown their forward-facing harness weight, now we move to a booster seat. And a booster, there are lots of different types, and we'll talk about that, but a booster just boosts us up. It doesn't have an internal harness. It just makes a kiddo big enough so that an adult seat belt fits them properly. So when it boosts them up, it makes that seat belt come right across the shoulder rather than up on their face. And it brings the child up so that the lap belt doesn't touch their tummy. It's down low on their thighs, right on their lap. And after that, it's seat belts for life. We are all, should all be buckled no matter where we are in any vehicle when we're a passenger. And so how do we achieve that? Rear facing, we could be in an infant seat or a convertible seat. Once we're forward facing, there are lots of different options. We could just be in a convertible seat forward facing. We could have something called a combination seat that is only forward facing, that goes from harnessed to booster mode.
Right.
There's also, these all-in-one seats, and they're great. I haven't gotten one for my kids just because for me, my kids are eating and drinking in the car once they're old enough for that to be safe. And our car seats, I'm sure parents can relate to this. Our car seats are a mess. I am embarrassed how many goldfish fall out of there. We've got juice boxes all over. And so for me, it was smarter for us to do a convertible seat and then just get a booster seat. And you can find a lot of very accessible, inexpensive boosters. So that's for every family to decide. But just remember, when you're looking at a seat that says it's all in one, 3-in-1, 4-in-1, make sure it does have the mode that you need for your kid. You could buy a 3-in-1 seat thinking this is the only seat my baby will ever need, but it doesn't start out rear facing at all.
Right.
So just be careful because those terms aren't regulated by the industry. So anyone could say 3-in-1 and it could have 3 modes, but it might not be the mode you need. So just double check that when you're purchasing a seat.
Really good to know. I actually I bought one of those like car seats that does it all. It's like can go rear facing, forward facing, the harness turns into a booster. The same issue. It was great. And then the eating and drinking, it was too much. And I'm like, okay, I moved my son to a booster, a high backed booster, which has been great. And it's much easier to clean. So that's definitely something to consider. I know I have a lot of friends and family and, I think the goal with a lot of baby gear is like, get it to last as long as possible. And that's absolutely great. But there are different parts of your kids like experience in the car, like when they start snacking, right, and eating, and they're able to ask where you're picking up from school and they're starving and you're like, I need an after school snack, or you're doing car trips, road trips and things like that. So it's definitely something to consider when thinking about buying car seats, is that trying to get one that lasts forever is great, but you might be wanting to change it out sooner than you think. So
Yeah. Yeah, we needed a biohazard bag for ours, I think. It was
yeah.
just terrible.
Oh my gosh, I totally understand that. My car seat is the exact same. Okay, so my last question for you is, do you have any other rules or guidelines or just like anything else that you want parents to know about this topic in changing car seats? Anything that we missed or that you feel like is really important?
Gosh, the thing I feel most important is just to remember there's so much information out there. Don't get lost in all of it. Get a car seat that you like, that you can use.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the most expensive. Just find a car seat that you like, that fits your child. Use it as long as is safe for your child. Make sure it's installed tightly. Make sure your child is buckled in properly and snugly. Don't make it, it doesn't have to be rocket science. And we are always here. If someone needs to contact us at Tot Squad, we are happy to help. We come to your house. We can do phone or video consults. So just let us know if we can help, because I know there's a lot of information and we don't want people to get lost in that. And always look before you lock. I like to get that in there. We have a lot of kids who suffer from hyperthermia from being forgotten in hot cars. So it doesn't have to be hot out for that to happen. So just remember, whenever you stop your car and get out, open the back door, make sure your child isn't with you in a moment of, change in routine or not being caffeinated enough. We can forget the most important things.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. That's really great information. And this has been so helpful. I know it's overwhelming for parents to figure this all out. So absolutely check out Tot Squad. And I love to know that you guys can do over the phone consults and help parents, and you can make it really easy for them. And I think too, like once you get the hang of it, finding the right car seat and figuring out what works for your family, it becomes a lot less stressful. And there are tons of amazing car seats on the market today that make life so easier as far as cleaning, great fabrics, easy to install, and can last you a long time if you would like that. So
absolutely.
This has been a lovely conversation, Jess. It was so nice to meet you.
Thanks, Kristen. Nice to meet you too.
And hopefully we'll get to chat again soon and more on car seats.
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.